time for the Albion Mag Radio Show. Well, a very good morning, warm welcome, 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, 1BTN. It's the Albion Mag Radio Show, back in the house. Burnt toast, just cooling down, exiting the studio. Loads to discuss today at the end of an international week. We've not had a game for a couple of weeks. It feels like a couple of months, but we've also got the preview for the Newcastle game. We've got our international roundup, how our respective players have got on for their national teams. I've also done a little mid-season report. It's like a school report to see how we're getting on, so it'll be interesting to discuss that and see what comes from that. Just make sure I can hear you, to be honest, mate. We've got the news on the under-23s, news on the women's team, and the non-league roundup, which includes a little flavour report from our trip to Whitehawk. Yeah.
Brightling Sea Region.
Region. A controversial 95th minute penalty. Caused a storm, that has. But of course, if you want to get involved with the show, do so at TAM Radio Show on Facebook, Twitter, our thread on North Stand Chat. Tom, we've got a Twitter poll up, of course. What's today's poll?
So it's looking ahead to the Newcastle game today. Obviously, our away form isn't always the best, but we're going for how do you want us to line up with game against Newcastle today, which could be one of the more winnable games in theory. So 3 options are keep it tight, maybe play out for the 0-0 or something like that, a balanced approach, or go for the jugular, which is Leon's terms.
Go for the jugular.
That's currently winning 57%. Going for the jugular.
How long have we got left on that one?
We have 28 minutes left.
Very precise, 28 minutes to get involved in that one. We'll do a big shout out to Leon, who's nursing himself on his sick bed today.
Yeah, he was a bit poorly last week as well.
He was, yeah. So instead, we've been joined in the studio by Dan Tester's with us today. He's got, I think he's going to talk about books. I don't know if that excites you, but that's coming up later. So let's start with the season report, because I was going to do this last week and I thought, no, I'll save it for this week. The 8 games played, 8 points. So this is fact number 1. How are you feeling about this? At this rate, a point a game, we're on course to finish 38 points, which is 2 less than last season.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, personally, I feel like the league at the bottom is slightly weaker than it was last year. I know it's really early days, but that's kind of what I'm seeing so far. So perhaps the amount of points we need to stay up is slightly less, maybe. I know that's pushing it slightly. And I know we have also got a lot of our hardest games of the season out the way already.
Oh, well, it's interesting you should say that, because one of the other stats that I've put together, I've done it. Well, I took the like-for-like games from this season to last season. The Fulham game, obviously, if we don't count that game at all, the point we got from that. In fact, we can include that game and not have a game from last season. We've got 8 points from the 8 games this season. From the corresponding games and not having a game against the Fulham game, we got 9 points.
Okay.
If we take it like for like and put West Brom in there, who finished bottom, Fulham went up through the playoffs, we would have had 12 points.
Yeah.
The average league position of the teams we've placed so far this season, 9.25. The average position of the teams that we've placed this time last year, 9.25.
Wow.
So, we have literally played in like-for-like games, like-for-like positions. We're actually, at least a point, if not 4 points worse off.
Interesting.
I'm not doing. I've done the stats because actually in this season I was feeling quite positive coming in, and I started doing these stats, and I went, maybe it's not as rosy. Dan wants to pipe in.
Right, stats. Right, football. It's a game of opinions and statistics. So statistics. Growing up, you learn how to count and read and write if you're obsessed by football like us. But now, because there's so much media space to cover with football stuff, not us, obviously, because we talk about other things, but statistics side of things. Do you know what? It's all chance, because otherwise, where's the excitement? Where's the drama? Your stats are really good and they're accurate, but in regards to like when the TV channels blither on about things, and they just find, just the most ridiculous stats, which must take a lot of work to find. It's like, it's a bit of filler, but we just want drama, don't we? We want excitement. It doesn't, as long as, if we were bottom of the table with no points, and then we're talking about stats, it's like, we might go down, but it's looking pretty similar. It's looking, identical, isn't it, pretty much? It's
slowing a slight decrease in performance this season, which I'm a bit surprised at. Defensively, we've been a lot worse, but we have scored more goals.
But last season, though, the Man United game this season, which was just absolutely outstanding, we didn't have a performance like that until... Off the top of my head, I can't think. But
West Ham. Well, no,
it certainly wasn't as early, was it?
West Ham away, which was end of October.
Yeah, that's a good shout. 3-0.
Was this weekend last year? Yeah.
Right. So in that respect, we've not obviously peaked, but we've certainly hit a vein of form. But it has tapered off a little bit, but not too badly. I don't think there's anything to worry about just yet.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because that's we're doing the stats, and you look at. I was just doing it for comparison, just to see how we're getting on, and actually. You wouldn't think, had I gone through that we were essentially worse off than we were last season.
I would say, we're on a par, basically. Not much difference. And obviously Murray's firing on all cylinders, and heaven forbid anything happened to him. Yeah, let's not think about that.
We're going to speak a bit more about Murray later in the show, because he's the second top scorer in the league, but he's the top scorer over the age of 33 in all of European football.
Really?
Including a certain Mr. Ronaldo.
Well, he could get his ton today.
He could. That was almost going to be the Twitter poll for this week, is when do we think Murray will get his ton? But if he doesn't get it today, I think he might, we'll throw that one up next week. Yeah.
We do the predictions later on, don't we?
We do the predictions later on. We haven't even done a preview yet.
Right, okay.
So we're doing a midterm. So we've scored more goals than certainly than this time last year, and likewise against other teams. So are we being rewarded for a bit more cavalier approach to games? Or do you still feel that we're a tad more still as reserved as we were last year? Have you seen a change? Do you feel there's been a change?
One stat I did notice yesterday, which I'm sure you've seen, that someone sent me on our group of where we all sit in the West Upper, was that Murray has converted 38% of his chances.
Not of people to the Glen Murray religion. No.
Compared to other strikers, it's 10%. So Murray has been so...
Burnt toast.
It wasn't burnt toast, it was Vision On.
Oh, Vision On.
Vision On.
I was burnt toast after. Sorry, Vision On. Sorry, James.
Yes, so Murray has been accurate. There's another footballish word, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But he's been very, very accurate in front of goal, which maybe... last season he was as well, but in regards to the team, so we're not maybe creating as many chances, or the chances we're creating, more of them are being put away, as opposed to last season, possibly, but without my stats on hand.
I get what you mean. So we may not be making as many chances, although I'd say it's probably like for like. We're putting more of them away.
Yeah.
That's a succinct way of putting it. Right, so we put a few stats in there. Genuinely, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? We're 8 games in. Are you feeling optimistic? You've sort of mentioned you feel us on a par from last season. Where do you see this? Where do you see it?
I'm feeling optimistic. Part of that comes from we've been missing quite a few players, quite key players. Guys like Izquierdo's obviously just come back. Gross has been missing a few games, and we've survived quite well with that. As well as obviously, we've played some teams near the top of the table, and I don't feel like we're right now anywhere near the relegation zone, even though we are. It doesn't feel like we are. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like there's teams at the bottom that are performing a lot worse than us. Obviously, one of them might have a bit of a run at some point and might pick up form. There's 2 of them I probably can't really see that happening for them, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'm feeling quite confident. I don't feel like I've noticed us being more cavalier than last season, really.
No,
to be honest, but the stats show that perhaps we are. We also had the Fulham game where we conceded 2 goals.
Southampton as well.
Southampton 2 goals, which you don't really want to be conceding 2 goals against those kind of teams, do you? But at the same time, we scored 2 goals, which last season we may not have done.
No, definitely not. I think Southampton last year was 1-0. Obviously, Fulham we didn't play, but we scored 3 against Man United as well. So we're certainly finding the net, which is certainly more. Going to I was going to say going to the Goldstone then. Going to the Amex is you might see some more entertainment than maybe this time last year. Maybe.
Hopefully, yeah. I reckon so. And we've still got exciting attacking players to come back from injury and stuff, and guys like Jahan Baksh to bed in and get more used to English football and stuff like that. And I think it's going to be a bit more entertaining this year. Hopefully, at home, not really away.
Well, we'll get to the away.
Talking of the Goldstone quickly, I saw a film last night called Goldstone.
Okay.
Which is set in the outback, and it's about a load of gold prospectors who people traffic. And it's about a bloke who was from this area, which was an indigenous area, who goes back, meets the elders, the Aboriginal elders in the place, and they basically hunt down the people that are trying to make millions out of this bit of land, and that's the end.
The film reviews with Dan. It's a new show that we're going to pitch for one.
I don't think Mark Kermode's got anything to worry about. We're not in the hair stakes anyway. But yeah, it's on iPlayer if you're interested.
Okay, so was it Goldstone?
Goldstone. It's just called Goldstone.
There you go. You're listening to the Albion Mag radio show
about football,
in case you've just tuned in. You can get in touch with us at TAM Radio Show, Facebook, Twitter, our thread on North Stand Chat. Do let us know. How are you feeling this sort of quarter mark of the season? I know it's not quite, but we're this international break is a good sort of point of which to go. It's a good data assessment. Let us know how you're feeling. We'll move on though. We'll move on to our international players. Sadly, no call up for Lewis Dunk. He didn't play in that ridiculous victory over Spain, which was about as exciting as it gets watching England, I think.
It was, and I think it's quite a good advert for the Nations League actually, because I don't think you get that kind of.
I thought it was a friendly.
No, not at all. And perhaps maybe that's why Dunk isn't playing. I think we've got a friendly of USA coming up, which might be a more kind of appropriate game to play a kind of debuting centre back rather than a away competitive game of Spain. But it seems like he got quite a lot out of the experience and.
Yeah, well, his statement, it was a great experience. Obviously, been dreaming of getting a call one day. When it came, it was great to be there, and the team got 2 great results. Unfortunately, I didn't get on, but it was still a great experience, and hopefully I'll be there for many more games to come. The first half of the Spain game was a joy to watch, especially the first goal, which is one of the best goals I've seen England score in my lifetime. It was great to see where I need to be and test myself in training against some of the best players in the world. It was an enjoyable experience. He loves the word enjoyable. To be away with the team. He was a very good manager, talking about Gareth Southgate. He was set a very nice, relaxed environment. It's a very team-based environment, and it was an enjoyable one, still enjoyable, one to be involved in.
That's just as important. Okay, not as important as actually playing, but the whole everything around it. So the press, even things like the press duties, turning up, being with a load of lads that you would have seen and competed against, but then sort of actually have a conversation with them on the same level because you're in the same team. Things like that that's a huge part of the overall experience. So the next time he goes, hopefully there will be a next time, it'll be less daunting for him. But did you think, going back to Sterling's goal, did that remind you of Michael Owen's goal against Argentina in '98?
Oh.
Just the finish, because the way the finish went across and into the top corner, that just reminded me of Owen.
I hadn't thought of it that way. A lot of the comparisons were to that Germany away game under Sven-Goran Eriksson, which I didn't get that.
No, I
because
didn't.
the way the game panned out was very different.
Yeah,
this was
Germany at that point, if my memory serves, because it was 17 years ago. They weren't at the level that Spain, compared to England at the time, it was a bit of a fluke result, but it was a great result. But Spain, obviously, are a world-class side. They've won, 2 Euros and a World Cup in the last 10 years. And I thought England was superb.
It was a game with 2 halves in the fact that it showed 2 very distinct sides of the way we played in terms of that attacking, taking every chance. I mean, talk about taking every chance. we scored. That was the story.
The ball from Pickford, though. The ball from Pickford, it was to Kane, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, just that move was exquisite. I mean, if you want to look at how to play modern football, that's exciting. I mean, Rashford's, everything had to be perfect. Rashford's pass, an inch either way, it wouldn't have got through to Sterling. But it was just great. It was good to see. I think a lot of people are reinvigorated by England now, especially after the World Cup.
There's just had a message from Sickbed Leon. He agrees. The Sterling Owen. There's a good comparison there. Although he thinks that the move on Monday was better, which is true because it was a team. Well,
do you think this name to catch on? Sickbed Leon.
Sickbed Leon. I don't know. Might do.
Hope you're all right, Leon.
Yes. So, obviously, unfortunately, with Dunk, do you think that was a one and done, like call up once just because of cover and circumstance, or do you think actually this is where, because of circumstance, he's been able to play and maybe put himself in the frame for future call ups?
If you sort of think of it from an Albion perspective, i.e., all right, when Zamora played for England, he wasn't playing for us, but it was almost like a token call up. But then again, a call up's a call up. So twice, obviously hasn't earned a cap. He's low down the pecking order, let's be honest, but he's in the manager's mind, and I think Southgate, if nothing else, is very fair. And if Dunk, the weird thing is, I've spoken to a lot of people about this. This season, Duffy has stood out for me more than Dunk, for some reason, just has, and that's not a slant on Dunk whatsoever, compared to last season where Dunk, everyone was clamouring last season for Dunk to play for England. This season he gets the call where there's been no real clamour amongst Albion fans. You're like, that's interesting, but we've all got our opinions. We all watch a lot of football, but we're not Gareth Southgate, and we don't have his team. So obviously, Dunk is doing something right. So I think he'll get another chance. I mean, he's behind Tarkowski.
Yeah. Tarkowski, yeah.
So, I think he'll get another chance. I really do. I can't wait to see an Albion player playing for England, because the last time it happened, I was 9, I think, or 8. So Steve Foster at the World Cup. So. I'm very much looking forward to it.
What do you reckon, Tom? You think is likely to get a call up? Another call up. I know Leon definitely thinks he will.
I do think he is slightly reliant on a couple of injuries, which do happen. And yeah, like Dan said, he probably is behind Tarkowski, and as we saw for the Spain game, probably Gomez as well, Joe Gomez.
Yeah.
But a couple of injuries. If he keeps playing at a high level, I don't see why not. I mean, we're not a disgraceful Premier League team where like players, our best players are nowhere near the England team. He's a good player playing for a pretty decent Premier League team. One of the best players for that team. I don't see why not. I agree though, Duffy's been better this season than Dunk. I do agree with that.
But then you have to also, Dunk's been injured.
True.
He got injured in was the Southampton game?
Man United game.
The Man United game. He missed the Southampton. Did he? And was it? I'm trying to think. The game he came back.
I think he came back for the Fulham game and gave them a goal almost straight away, didn't he? For one of their goals.
It feels like years.
I think it was the Fulham game.
So the general consensus from the TAM team is that Dunk will be called up. But it's funny because we've got that friendly against USA. It is with the Croatia game as well. Because if it was 2 friendlies, you might think that actually a lot of players may not go. Not a lot of players might go, but you sometimes see that the players for the Champions League clubs get rested.
Yeah, see, he might do a bit more of like an experimental lineup, because I think now we're doing less. International friendlies, there are fewer opportunities to, I guess, take those risks.
Yeah, because every game can mean something.
Yeah, so I guess the likes of USA is an opportunity for people like Dunk, and I'm sure there are a few others. Wilson at Bournemouth, for example.
There's a message come through on the show, which has got Dan. Sorry to break up there. Can you explain that one, Dan, from Chewy Beatwell?
Yes, Chewy Beatwell is a very good friend of mine, Mr. Matthew Grandison, who also has a show on 1BTN called What's Wrong with Grooving, which is very good on a Sunday afternoon from 2 till 4. There you go, mate. There's your free ad. And yes, he's alluding to my books. My last book, which was a history of Brighton and Hove, and basically suggesting that I've signed so many of them that any ones that aren't signed will be worth, they're rarer than hen's teeth, quote unquote. So thanks ever so much for your support there. Be well.
But obviously, it must be tuned. Maybe we could get a comment on your film review as well of Goldstain.
No, please don't.
So, carrying on the international flavour with that very bad link, Jan Baksh, we've had a few players score. Jan Baksh scored for Iran in a friendly over Bolivia midweek. Did you see that goal on Twitter?
I haven't seen it yet.
It was the first
with
women in the crowd.
Was it
really?
The first game with women in the crowd?
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you seen that? There's some footage before that absolutely just can't really comprehend the fact that women were banned from football. But there was this great image. I think there were 10 girls who were at university together, and they dressed up as men to get in, and they all had fake beards and moustaches because that's the only way that they could get into football.
Wow.
Just this,
Still.
Let's not get too political, because that could go on for ages.
A forgotten man, Tomer Mohamed. Yeah, he scored.
I haven't forgotten about him.
Well, in the eyes of getting somewhere near the first team, he's probably a forgotten man.
Yes, absolutely.
But both he and Barim Kyle played in both games against Albania and Scotland. But Mohamed scored in that one against Albania.
Wasn't Kyle great in the last home game?
Yes.
Absolutely superb. We've probably talked about that, wasn't
it?
Sorry,
that's all right,
that's been done,
but
isn't it?
It did. It was. That's the first time he's really shone on the Premier League stage. That's what I would say
absolutely
about
right.
him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
Which is promising for the future because he obviously the last season injury coming back. This was almost like a statement of intent, which makes Proper, who is out for today, that not seem as significant.
Yeah, that's true.
So they sort of. Link that in. Speaking of Proper, obviously
Excellent.
He didn't play. Percy Tau, though, scored. The man that with our South African superstar that's out on loan. He scored in the 6-0 win over the Seychelles. Yes.
The Seychelles.
Yeah. Well, do you say so? So they drew 0-0 in the second game. They played 2 games in 3 days. So, you know.
Really? Where are Seychelles in the world rankings? Do we know?
Not in the top 10. So Shane Duffy played twice for the Republic of Ireland. And Dan, do you know this record? Do you know the records?
Record.
Tom, this is the record that you put through. So I feel like you're the one that should share this.
Well,
yes.
So
No, damn it! I remember now.
Shane Duffy broke Albion history this week.
He broke history.
Broke history. Broke the record. Broke the record. That's the
It
word. History's broken. So he is now the all-time record holder for most international caps whilst being a Brighton player. But I was looking this up. I think Tomer Mohamed is right behind him actually, because he's still a Brighton player.
This is true.
And I think he's only a couple behind that. And
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, Shane Duffy was he's equal with Steve Penny and Jerry Ryan. Yeah.
Oh, there's
on
thoughts
16
going.
and now Duffy's on 17. He's got 17
So
caps.
there we are. So the answer to the quiz question would be
17.
17 for Duffy. Obviously, the Republic of Ireland are having a few troubles, aren't they? It's not going so well for there. A lot of infighting.
A lot of infighting.
Yeah. Leon Balogun got 2 more caps for Nigeria as they beat. They played Libya twice and won 4-0 3-2. Basuma featured against Mali and Malawi. And last but not least, Gaëtan Bong didn't play for Cameroon. So
a shame.
But he didn't.
Yeah.
So there are a few under 23s playing. Victor Gyökeres, he's very tall Swedish under 20s man. He scored a brace for Sweden. I've seen him play a few times, and he's obviously got skill. But he always seems someone that doesn't know where the net is. Every time I've seen him, he seems to do everything right but finish. Just in the games that I've seen, I know he obviously is a good player because he's still part of that under-23s team.
He links up well with Connolly, doesn't he?
We love Connolly.
I think there's more Connolly. Maybe.
There's a lot more Connolly, which we'll get to later. We're going to take a quick break. Our friends, our sponsors, Jalapeno Records, have released a new tune this week, The Allergies. This is Big Bad Woman. There you have The Allergies, Big Bad.
That was impressive, Dean. That was impressive. I mean, if we're looking for a speedy winger...
That was, so hopefully you weren't aware, but we were just enjoying a natter about the show and then suddenly realised the song was ending.
And Dean sprinted like a gazelle.
Oh, a gazelle. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Is a gazelle right? I was going to say a cougar, but then that sounded wrong on so many levels. It's a cheetah.
But doesn't Gazelle play for Newcastle anyway, which links us in nicely?
Oh, brilliant link. That's what we were planning outside,
Links us,
basically.
absolutely. Obviously, we've got a big game up at St James's Park coming up this afternoon. Anyone listening to the show, welcome. The Albion Mag Radio Show. Dean, Tom and Dan Tester in the studio. No Leon today. He's on his sick bed, but still contributing very nicely from that sick bed.
Sick bed, Leon.
Get well soon, my friend. We've got... Have you been up to St James's Park?
I have. I've got a couple of good Newcastle stories, if you'd like me to talk about them. I've been there for once for a game in 1991 on a Tuesday night. And I was living in Hertfordshire and working in Hertfordshire, and I came down to Brighton to the Golston to get a coach with my good friend John Vallance, and we got the coach to St James's. On the way there, we stopped at a service station on the M1, played football. Ball got stuck under the coach. I crawled under the coach to get the aforementioned ball. Next service station, we got pulled over. The whole service station was emptied out, apart from our little coach in the middle of this massive car park. And I'm thinking, oh no, they've seen me crawl under the coach. They think I've planted a bomb or such like. We were held there for 3 hours. Then we got back on the coach, got to St James's 10 minutes before kick-off. It was an open end. It rained for the entire game, and it was 0-0. And the crowd was 12,000.
Wow.
So all these Newcastle fans that have been on Twitter all week about what a massive club they are a massive club. But that was only 27 years ago. 12,000, now they're getting 52. That's a 40,000 swing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it turns out that the reason that we were pulled over, because Millwall fans had seen us playing football and thought it'd be really funny to phone the police with a fake, with a hoax bomb call, basically. That's what happened.
Oh. Okay, well, there we are.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
That was a different end to the story than I was expecting. Okay, the thing about that crowd is it is the focal point of the city. Yeah. It really is.
It's the fact it's up on a hill and it's almost cathedral-like. Yeah. Newcastle I love Newcastle as a city. I think it's an absolutely wonderful place. It's built for hedonism, basically. You go there to have a good time, and the football club is the absolute centre of all of that, really. But it's just a shame they've got that Georgian terrace, Lees's Terrace, because they can only have those two sides. It does look a bit odd, because they could probably fill, if they replicated it on the other side to make it three, like a C shape, they could fill that.
Yeah,
but they can't do it, unfortunately.
Have you been up to Newcastle, Tom?
I lived in Newcastle.
I see. There we go.
I lived there for about 3 years. My mum lives there now. I've been to St James's Park a couple of times without the Albion. I went there once when Keegan was managing. That was great. And I went to not our most recent trip, one in the Championship where we lost 2-0. And we weren't very good. But yeah, great view of the city from the away end. You can't see much of the action.
That's true.
And you almost pass out once you're at the top as well.
Yeah, they should be giving oxygen mask, shouldn't they, as you climb up those stairs. So how are you feeling going there? Obviously, we've spoken before how we're feeling about this season. Newcastle, I mean, if we're worried about, if there is any worry about how our season's going, they
must be worrying as well, yeah.
You can't... it can't be good to be a Newcastle fan right now, surely.
No, and I think with the whole... I don't want to delve too much into the Mike Ashley thing, but it makes me so grateful of Tony Bloom not having someone like Mike Ashley in charge of our football club. Just having someone, just a vaguely decent human being in charge of a football club. Yeah,
absolutely.
I just thought about the Mike Ashley scenario. So imagine if Mike Ashley was Albion chairman, and with our history... When I talk about history, I mean our campaigning history and what we did to get rid of Archer, which obviously is slightly different because Ashley maybe could be construed to be destroying Newcastle in a slightly different way that Bill Archer was.
Totally, yeah.
But if someone like Mike Ashley was chairman of the Albion, I don't think we'd stand for it, actually. I think we'd actually, I'm not saying Newcastle fans are, because I don't know the whole picture, because we're quite a long way away and we're not party to all the local media that, well, we are online, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't think we'd stand for it, I think we'd get him out.
I think we would as well. Yeah, I think his days will be numbered down here, definitely.
But they've tried that. They've tried lots of different campaigns. They've tried not going to games. They've tried and nothing. At the end of the day, you still want to go and watch their football team, don't they? So that's why.
Yeah, and all around St James's Park, you've got all these statues of guys like Shearer, Bobby Robson. In the metro station underneath the stadium, you've got all these kind of murals of all these great players they've had and stuff. And you think this really great city, one football team, right smack bang in the middle. Everyone in Newcastle supports Newcastle, and they must just be fed up of him. Basically, it must just be exhausting.
Yeah, particularly as he's used money from the club to purchase House of Fraser, wherever it was. I mean, there's some very expensive club shops he's got around. There's some very lucrative.
I think actually going back to how they could hurt Ashley, I think just boycott. I know it's hard. I mean, we only did it for one game, and then we all broke into the Golston. Well, sorry, some people broke into the Golston when we played Mansfield. But if Newcastle fans, and it's with a 52,000 support, it was easier to manage our support back in the Troubles because there was less of us. But it was before social media. But if 20,000 Newcastle fans didn't go to a game and congregated outside, that's an impact. Even 10,000, that is an impact that cannot be ignored by anyone. So if I was a Newcastle fan, that's what I'd be doing.
I also wonder now whether, because of the money from TV, and that actually they say that fans not going to games won't affect them financially.
Maybe
but obviously
it won't have that much. It'd be like a visible
impact,
visible
wouldn't it? Rather than a
financially, maybe not as much as when we were in Division 3 and the club were almost 100%, probably 100% reliant on gate seats when they.
So we'll move from off the field to on the field matters. We'll do predictions momentarily. There's obviously Proper out, which you mentioned, but obviously Kyle coming in. Which
Stevens back?
Stevens, no news on Stevens as yet. David Simmons, his doubts. Him and Bong. We'll try and get some update on that. Pascal Gross could be back though today, which is good news because we've missed him.
Yes, very much so.
And here's the head-to-head. Obviously, last season 0-0 there, which is. Here's a stat for you. Newcastle had 26 shots without scoring in that game, which was the second highest amount of shots without scoring a goal in a game.
Wow!
I read that one this morning, but obviously we got away with a 0-0 there. I'm trying. When was that? Was that played over the Christmas period?
It was around Christmas.
Because it's a game that kind of passed me by.
We weren't on very good form around that time. Definitely, it was around Christmas time. Yeah.
It sort of came and went. 30th of December has been confirmed by Dan. He was using his stat. So Newcastle have won only 2 of their last 10 League and Cup matches. We've won 5. So, of course, those 2 games were both in the Championship promotion season. They beat us 2-0 there and 2-1 at the Amex.
Yeah. Oh, that was the flukiest goal of all time, if I recall, wasn't it?
More fluky than Darren Bent hitting the beach ball.
Oh, mate, this
no,
one.
Oh,
God, who was it?
Diarmi.
Yeah, it was just. You can't actually describe it. It was so ridiculously fluke. Anyway, that's it. Tom's describing it very well. For those of you without a television, that's all of you. It took one deflection and another deflection and managed to find the only bit of the goal that Stockdale hadn't covered. It was just look it up if you can on YouTube or something, because it was a ridiculous goal, absolutely ridiculous.
What I remember about that game, Brighton on fire.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely brilliant game.
It was just because totally it was 2 goals in the last. Was it the last 10 minutes? Yeah,
totally against the run of play. I remember that vividly. But it was a magnificent game. Sometimes you can have magnificent games when you lose, because that's the beauty of football, isn't it? When you just have a blood and thunder contest like that, and then if we'd scored that goal, it would have been the best goal ever. But that's
that's football.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's some other stats. Brighton are currently I hate this one. 17 games since their last victory away, which is the scoring only 7 goals.
Wow.
Which is actually their longest run. I can't remember the year. It's not since 1997. That's it. It's our longest.
Very, very different times.
Yes, very different times. But still,
we won one away game in that season that Dean alludes to. Yeah, I mean, we really have got nothing to worry about, everyone.
No.
Because that season was just horrifically poor. Football-wise, well, everything about it was poor. But yeah, on the road, we were just abject. And actually, this is an omen, because the only away victory that season was at Hartlepool, which is also in the northeast.
Well, you're not suggesting that we're only going to get one away win this season.
No, I'm suggesting that we're going to break our hex in the northeast, hopefully.
Gotcha.
And then go out and have a great time in Newcastle afterwards.
That sounds
even
like
though
a
we're
plan.
in Brighton.
Things that might go against that: Chris Hughton's yet to win at St James's Park since returning now. Obviously, he was the manager there for a few seasons till they unceremoniously got rid of him. We've mentioned about Glenn Murray being the top goal scorer aged over 33 in any major.
I mean, that's clutching at straws.
Thank
isn't
you,
it?
Leon, for that stat.
But no, sorry, Leon, that wasn't a slam. But that's if you look at, I don't know, just the whole Murray thing. He's got better with age. He looks fitter than he's ever looked, and he's 35. None of it makes sense. So whatever, I'd like to speak to his dietitian.
Well, just Leon, he may be on his sickbed, but he's been playing FIFA 19 on the hardest level, and he's just finished a game between Newcastle and Brighton, and he'll be pleased to know that the Albion won 1-0.
Did Murray score, Leon?
I didn't get that info. It came up and went on my phone, so I don't know who scored the bet.
Leon, can you text me who? Because I'm going to put a bet on.
There we are. Speaking of predictions, we've got, of course, it's one of the Super 6 games if you're that way inclined and want to try and win £1 million. Jeff's... not I encourage gambling, but Jeff Stelling, and Paul Merson and Shane Warne, the famous Australian bowler,
who obviously knows loads about football.
They've all gone the set 1-0 to Newcastle. Phil Thompson's gone 2-1 Newcastle. Mark Lawrenson's gone 2-0 Newcastle. Charlie Nicholas 0-0.
1-0 Albion Murray.
1-0, depending on who Leon scored with in the game.
Now I think my prediction is 1-0 Murray, because I want it to be 1-0 Murray, and I think that's how my predictions mind works, really. But the bet that I put on the bookmakers will be whoever scored for Leon's team and 1-0.
Okay. Tom?
I think I'm going to go for the dullest 0-0 draw of all time. Because I think I'm not sure I can see either team scoring, to be honest. So one of those predictions was 2-1. I can't see Newcastle scoring twice, to be honest.
I can't see it. Well, they did score 2 at Old Trafford last time out.
But I think that's a bit of a fluke, to be honest.
Well, they look good for 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, but I can't see them scoring twice against us.
Right.
I think it's going to be 0-0.
Leon's gone 1-0.
Okay.
And I'm firmly in the camp of 0-0. I'm with you. I don't think, as much as I'd love us to be cavalier and go out and play, I just don't see it happening. I see us being quite defensive. I don't see them getting past us. I just think it's going to be one of those that just peters out into a game that will be last on Match of the Day tonight.
Yeah.
It pains me to say it, but I think you're going to be right. But I always want Albion to go for the jugular, because it's just entertainment, isn't it? And, game management, I understand it from the club perspective. I understand that. But for all of those Albion fans that have travelled up there today and last night and whatnot, it's not fair on them. At the end of the day, they're just as important. Well, I think they're just as important as anything else.
Of course.
So you've just got to go for the win. What's the point? Otherwise? It's too early in the season. It's too early in the season, and we're doing all right. But saying that, and probably contradicting myself, I trust Mr. Hughton implicitly. Mr. Hughton, Chris Hughton, not Chris, as in Pep. And people, that really gets on my nerves. I've been ranting about that this week. So he's not a mate of mine, so I'm going to call him Guardiola. Why do people call him Pep? Really bad.
Although that's
anyway.
the strange thing about football, isn't it? That we call people by each other's surnames.
I listened to a radio station yesterday that shall remain nameless, because I'm never going to listen to it again, and they were talking about a certain Belgian midfielder coming back from injury. How did they refer to him? This is on the news of this radio station.
Okay.
That is a national radio station. How did they refer to him? KDB. KDB. Seriously. It wasn't a 12-year-old doing the news, it was an adult male.
Well, as someone that writes the sports news, I certainly would not be...
No,
wouldn't be taking
please
that.
Please don't.
No, you're supposed to be as formal as you. Anyway, never mind. But that's another.
But it's a level playing field, isn't it? If everyone's called by their surname in football parlance, it's a level playing field. If people start calling Pep, Pep, it's like, well, okay, you won the league, deserves a bit of respect, but come on, it's just. I'm going to have a cup of tea.
Dan's going out to make a cup of tea, which is nicely because it will fit in with the result of our Twitter poll. Yes. We're speaking about should we go for the juggler. We're all in consensus that we should. But what's the opinion?
Well, 57% of Brighton Hove Albion fan base agree with us.
There we are.
Go for the juggler.
Go for the jugular. Yeah. There were some pessimistic.
9% saying keep it tight, so still a conservative element of our fan base, but yeah.
There we are. So 57% go for the jugular. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we'll find out. Obviously, we'll do our review of that game next week, where we've either got nothing to talk about if we're right, or hopefully we'll be celebrating Murray's 100th goal. That would be quite nice.
Yes, hopefully.
Maybe we'll do some gold type of theme if that happens. I don't know.
Look, mate, if we play Spandau Ballet, we're going to have to pay a PRS on it. So we'll have to find another song that's got gold in the title that is a bit less well known.
Or can I alter it slightly so it's not actually the original?
Oh, hang on.
I don't know.
What, you want to sing it?
No, I was thinking of cutting the song up to put alongside other bits. I don't know. Well,
that's
think of
interesting.
We'll
stay tuned, folks.
I'm not promising anything. So this is interesting. We'll move on from that. That we'll go to the women's team because your wife went to pick up her master's doctorate. Which is good.
She was a master's.
She's a master. Yeah. So congratulations. But the Albion-related part of that is
it's quite interesting. I was there. Is at the beautiful Chichester Cathedral, and Hope Powell, our women's team manager, was picking up an honorary doctorate, Doctor of Sport, she's going to be, for services to women's sport and football in particular. They ran through her career kind of highlights, I guess, and she's had a remarkable career. England debut at 16, was told she wasn't really allowed to play football when she was a kid. Played 60 odd games for England, managed them for 12,
over a decade.
Well over a decade. Which you wouldn't get in the men's game at all. And she's plugging away in an era where women's football was kind of ignored, really. You hardly ever saw her on TV when she was manager. She's really impressive, great speaker. I think she needs a bit of congratulations. Obviously, no coverage of it from the club at all.
No, but you wonder why, because it falls maybe outside of. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
But obviously, she's obviously Team GB, the Olympics. She's a stunning. I've been fortunate to have a few chats with her, and she is a stunning person that is just well worth talking.
Very eloquent,
about
isn't she?
Yeah,
very
absolutely,
eloquent, definitely. I think we're fortunate to have two very just great people managing our teams, Chris Hewton and Hope Powell.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dan, what are you going to...
Well, this is a bit of a long shot, but I'm going to try and get her on the show.
Let's do it.
I think, obviously, Saturday mornings, in regards to game preparation, if one of their games gets moved for TV, then maybe we could get her in. Or if they've got
There's an international break coming up in a couple of weeks, another one, so potentially we could try for them. That'd be good.
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have said that on the radio. Maybe I should have sort of gone and tried to do it before mentioning it on the radio.
Well,
but I just got a bit ahead of myself, got a bit excited. So apologies, listeners, if it doesn't happen. We'll just do some more stats.
Well, obviously the women's team they played Everton last Sunday, and the good news is they scored their first goal in the WSL 1. In fact, they scored 3 of them.
How many games have they played now?
This is 5th game, and there's been 5th game, 3 defeats with no goals and a 0-0 draw. So unfortunately, they scored 3 goals, also conceded 3 goals. So a 3-3 draw. It's the first point. They've lost 1-0, 3 and 2-0. So
they're bedding in. It must be a big step up in class.
A huge step up. And as we mentioned last week, they've got another 6-7 players come into the squad.
Right.
When you think last year they had the same amount of players coming in over the course of a calendar year, there's literally a brand new squad and just a few old faces that are there. But it does feel like they're getting there now.
So Hope's sort of experience, you think, is starting to pay dividends a bit?
You'll see the way they play, because Hope's very particular about how she plays. It's unbelievably obviously you expect it, but it's very tactical, is that players have specific roles, very similar to the men's team. There's quite a lot of synergy between her and Chris Hewton, actually.
Okay.
And it is about setting the team out to be strong and to first and foremost, they stop the other team strengths. Tends to be the way that I've seen certainly when they played the better.
Right, so we'll do their homework and then implement that on the training ground and then take it into the game.
Yeah, okay. And I forgot the name. The assistant manager is just, her name's gone from my head, which is really bad. She is also in her own right would be good enough to manage any club. So there's a double team, and when Hope hasn't been there, she's sort of taken over for duties. So
are the women playing tomorrow? Because I missed.
They are. So this is a fantastic initiative for tomorrow. You can get him for £1 if you're a season. Is it if you're a season ticket? Yeah,
I think
if you've got a men's
season
ticket for the men's team, first team. You can get a ticket for £1 tomorrow
at Crawley
against Manchester City.
Ooh.
So it's going to be good.
Stadium, just off the M23, everyone.
Yep, it's going to be a good game, actually. Two good teams, plays good football.
Going?
I will be covering another game tomorrow. So
are you allowed to tell us which one?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. So there we are. Yes. So that's the women's team. So if you can get yourself down to the Broadfields tomorrow, and for £1, if you're a season ticket holder, absolutely worth it. You'll see. Yeah, Brazil is. She's one of the new signings. She's scored 3 goals now, 1 in the cup and 2 in the league. Her and Stewart seem to have linked up. Who's the captain? So yeah,
good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, we'll do the under 23s because they played last night. Beat Blackburn Rovers 2-1. Connolly scored again. Our young Irish lads.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't he? I was kind of thinking on the way here. I guess sorry going off topic, but I think we're going to have to. Think about when we're going to pull the trigger. I don't mean kill him. I mean, get him maybe a loan deal, or he must be attracting some interest from League Two or conference clubs, or to get him a bit of first team football, because he looks too good for that level, surely.
Well, he's a fantastic prospect, so it would be lovely. This is where it annoys me that we play in the Carabao Cup, or what it's called. That would be the perfect opportunity for someone like Connolly to get a start, potential coming off the bench. Or
was he on the bench when we lost to Southampton?
I don't know.
No. Barkley and the Swedish side played, didn't they? But Connolly definitely didn't start.
No.
Yeah, I think.
But he's very young.
He is young, isn't he? 18?
He's part of the under 18. He was part of the under 18.
He's a few years ahead of his development, I guess.
So, Leon Cox has piped in that Ireland, forget Albion, he should be playing for the Republic of Ireland. Shane Long's passed it, and Connolly should be fast-tracked into the Irish first team. I tell you what, don't bed in at the Albion, bed in for your national team instead. I like that.
Good work, sick bed.
Right, very quickly, we've got our non-league roundup to come, but in fact, we'll do that first, and then Dan, I know you like a bit of. I can't think of the phrase now.
Non-league football.
That's it. That's what we're doing now. Oh yes, it's the non-league time. Bit of reggae music. Now the Team Tam went on a trip to Whitehawk, to the enclosed ground last week, and that was their biggest crowd for. It's up 40% on their crowd for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
565 in attendance, of which we made up 5 of those. Yeah. So, what did you take of going to Whitehawk?
I haven't been. It's my first time I've been this season. A definite drop in quality from last year, but still very good standard. Quite an even game, I'd say. Two teams that probably aren't going to trouble much at the top of the table.
It wasn't a game that you'll be remembering probably after today, when we've spoken about it on this show, to be honest.
I mean, to be fair, you get games like that at all levels.
Absolutely.
But massive respect to Kevin Miller for the job he's doing down there, engaging with the community and just trying to build on the success of, off the pitch, but also on the pitch. But they're making great strides, and obviously, there's quite a strong message there. Anti-homophobia, anti-racism, anti-sexism, which, let's be honest, is a very important thing to push. Be good to see more locals down there, though, because it is their club after all. But they're going in the right direction, and Brightling Sea Region, as we talked about a lot during the game. What a great name. What a great name for a football club.
Well, the game finished 1-0. It was a 95th minute penalty equaliser, which was...
sickener.
Having edited the footage for that game, it was definitely not a penalty.
Oh,
right. But if you take a tumble in the box, maybe you'll get one. And that's what happens. They're away at Enfield Town today. But here's interesting. I've heard on the grapevine that there's potentially a documentary being made about their ultras.
Really? Okay.
On the grapevine. Nothing official on that one yet. Maybe Kevin Miller will be able to come and talk to us about that one.
Well, he is going to come on the show soon. Well, we've got a lot of guests coming up.
We have.
I don't want to tell, obviously, after the mistake I made with Hope, which is a bit ambitious.
Well, we'll move... I should have probably started with this one, although we went to the Whitehall game. Worthing are in FA Cup, my favourite competition in the world. Worthing are in the FA Cup today. A fourth qualifying round away at Ebbsfleet United from the National League. Here's a prize money for this game, £25,000.
Really? Cool.
It's not a small amount of money.
No, absolutely. How long did you reckon that'll pay their wages for? Was that a bit of a...
Well, I don't know what the average wage is. There'll be a mixture of... who knows?
No, sorry, that was a question that maybe we should have discussed in the green room beforehand.
Probably, I'd say, as far as the club, probably a good month. Maybe more.
Yeah? Is that all?
A couple of months, maybe.
Wow, okay.
Well, you've got to think that at that level, you're probably getting at least a couple of £100 a game, I reckon.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit more for...
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So, if you're playing...
When all things considered.
2 games a week...
Yeah, blimey.
Yeah. So, but anyway, they're still second in the league. They beat Kingstonians. So, speaking of crowds, 1,320 went to the Woodside Road, as I like to call it. Bibby Financial
It's quite a big town. It's 100,000 plus population, Worthing.
But that's still
they're the biggest club. No, it's a great crowd.
Big crowd.
I'd like to see them do well.
This is 19 years. It's been 19 years since Worthing made the first round proper. They played Bournemouth. Do you remember that?
I do, because Spencer Mintram scored, didn't he, for Worthing?
Yeah.
Who I think he played for the Albion at youth level. Anyway, sorry.
19 years since then, and 19 years since they've played Ebbsfleet United, who they're playing today. That was in the FA Trophy, and Ebbsfleet won that game 2-0. So, interestingly, last week, Aaron Ralph, 16-year-old from the Youth Academy, their goalkeeper, Coverlan, broke his arm in the last FA Cup round quite badly. So rather than sign a replacement, they promoted from the under-16s. So Aaron Ralph made his debut last week, had a storming game.
Wow.
And obviously they won that. So he's in line to start again today.
Fantastic.
Which is a good story.
Great stuff, yes.
Moving on, Lewis, they lost to Poole Town on Saturday before beating AFC Hornchurch 5-1 away midweek, which was sort of a result that came from nothing. They're mid-table, 11th. They're at home today. I've just lost it on the page. They haven't won at home all season.
Really?
No, which is they've only played 4 games. They're 5th. Folkestone and Victor travel there to Lewis, which is always a good crack there.
And if you want hospitality with a difference, Lewis have 4 beach huts overlooking the pitch, which have radiators in for this time of year, so you can get your Harveys and go into a beach hut and watch your football. It's
what
great.
Kind of soft football fan have you become, Dan?
Mate, as a football experience,
it is a good experience.
In a beach hut, it was great fun.
Folkestone and Victor, they're playing, inflicted Bognor Regis Town's first defeat of the season midweek. And if Bognor had won that game, they'd have gone top. But as it is, they remain 3rd. Only a couple of points off Tunbridge Angels, who they beat on Saturday. So a sort of mixed week for Bognor Regis Town. But it's good. 2 Sussex clubs, 2nd and 3rd.
Good to see all Sussex clubs doing well.
And then that brings me to Burgess Hill Town, who's sadly a bottom of that league. And it was confirmed yesterday that Ian Chapman is leaving the club. He was on. He was given he offered his resignation. The club said go away for a couple of weeks, and then they both released their own individual statements yesterday. All very amicable. Ian thinks that he feels he's got the club as far as he goes, and the last 2 seasons sort of stagnated, and they need to push on.
Let's hope he stays in the game. Top man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's done great things for that club, and they're at the highest level they've ever been. So
he's one of football's good guys.
we wish him well and Burgess Hill Town well as well. So, other than that, if you're looking for a game to go to today, Shoreham are at home to East Preston. They are looking to make it lucky 13 as they haven't won in 12. Salting United are home to Arundel, and they're Peacehaven and Telscombe. Our good friend Mike Bradbury, they're at home today against Broadbridge Heath. So if you're not on your way up to Newcastle, listen to us on DAB, and you fancy catching a game, then those are the games to go to. That's the non-league roundup for you. There we are.
Stuff.
Right, so non-league's over. We've just got a few seconds left, Dan, because you've come on for one specific reason.
Not really. I just wanted to see you all. I went to the launch of Bloody Southerners on Thursday night at the Caxton, which is a new book by Spencer Vignes, big Albion fan, long-time programme contributor. And the book is about Brian Clough's reign as Albion manager in 1973. Some of you hearing that may not believe it's true, but Brian Clough was manager of Brighton Hove Albion for 9 months, and oversaw defeats such as the 8-2 thrashing at home by Bristol Rovers and the 4-0 disastrous FA Cup performance at the Goldstone. But other than that, there's lots of other juicy, very juicy details about his 9-month reign. I can't be any more positive about it. It's such a good read. I couldn't put it down because there's loads of stuff I didn't realise. But Clough doesn't come out of it very well, to be fair. And a few of his ex-players were at the book launch, and I won't repeat what they said because it's a family show. But Clough basically went from Derby County. He won the league with Derby County and became manager of the Albion, who was 6th from bottom in Division 3. That is the equivalent of Pep Guardiola leaving Manchester City and taking over at Rochdale. That's what happened. The whole football world were going, what on earth is he doing? Obviously didn't have anything to do with all the money that Mike Bamber offered him. Not at all was anything to do with that. But it was an interest. But it did put the Albion on the map in a certain way, out of Sussex, if you like. And then obviously, not long after he left, Mallory turned up, and the rest is history.
As they say.
But I would, Bite Back Publishing, $12.99 from all good bookshops and some bad ones.
I just repeat the name of the book again.
Bloody Southerners by
Southerners.
Spencer Vignes.
There we are. So if you fancy a little read, get yourself down there. Book review with Dan. We'll have one of those.
No film reviews. No more film reviews.
You've been listening to the Albion Mag radio show. Hopefully we've got some goals and a victory to talk about. Maybe Murray's 100th next week. We're going to leave you now with another new song from our friends the Allergies. But before then, it's goodbye from me.
And Tom and Dan.
Thanks, Tom.
See you next week, everybody.
Are you ready?